What is going on, you guys? My name is Cody Thixton, and this is Interesting Podcast. I'm coming to you guys on February 7th, 2023 for episode 23, where tonight we are going to be talking about Gunther commenting on a potential match with Brock Lesnar. Plus, Sonya Deville was actually injured at a WWE live event, and a faction from SmackDown has been drafted to Monday Night Raw, and we are going to update the top 10 list, the list that I introduced to you guys a week ago. We are going to update it with the current superstars and where they should be placed, all here, right now on Interesting Podcast. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, comment down below. Make sure to follow me on social media at CodyT503. That's Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Let's get right into this, man. Gunther commented on a potential match with Brock Lesnar, and this is being broken by the Spotlight News. It says, and I quote, "One of the major differences between Vince McMahon and Paul Triple H Levesque is Triple H treats mid-card titles as big as main championships. After Triple H became head of creative, he made the current Intercontinental Champion Gunther one of the tough guys in the company. The Ring General is currently holding the Intercontinental title for 240 days. Gunther last defended his IC title on the January 13th episode of Friday Night SmackDown, where he defeated Braun Strowman. Recently, it was reported that WWE has pitched a triple threat match between Gunther, Sheamus, and Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania 39, which we had discussed yesterday or a few days ago on one of my other podcasts. Prior to that report, there was a rumor circulating on social media about Gunther facing Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. However, multiple news outlets later denied this rumor. During an interview with Rob Brown's show, Gunther discussed a potential match with Brock Lesnar. Gunther stated that he likes Lesnar's matches. He further noted that Lesnar could be his end boss. This is what Gunther had to say. "Of course I wanted to. Brock is 1 in a million guy, 1 in 10 million. I always liked those guys that have stood out from the pack. I always loved his matches and was very impressed with that, and also with the recent years in WWE. I always thought it would be a thing for wrestling in my style, that my end boss. I've been portrayed as the end boss in wrestling for a lot of guys, but I think Brock could be my end boss. I really hope the match goes down at some point." That is very, very interesting, man. That is very, very interesting. Everybody kind of knows that it's going to be Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley this year at WrestleMania 39 in Los Angeles. We've already discussed that in previous podcasts and brought that up. But imagine if at some point WWE was able to circulate this maybe into next year in 2024 when they go into WrestleMania 40. Because I could, like I said in my podcast about Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar is getting to that age where he's going to want to retire soon. You know what I mean? He's going to want to step away from the WWE and just go do his farm work and do whatever he feels he wants to do and retire. Because the dude has so much money, he doesn't need WWE. Like, WWE needs him more than he needs WWE. So I could see Brock Lesnar wanting, like I said in the Bobby Lashley podcast, to help WWE by lending a hand and passing the torch to these younger talent, so that then when he steps away, WWE has those monster characters or those larger, specimens, and actually have them over at that point, instead of it being like an Omos situation where Omos is a big dude, but he's not really cared about in any way. And that is something that Brock Lesnar is going to help Gunther with at WrestleMania 40. I could actually see WWE going with that, especially given the fact that Gunther lasted so long in the Royal Rumble this year. Who's to say that by next year WWE doesn't give Gunther a championship match or the Royal Rumble win. There you go. And then he can get a championship match, or and then I don't know how WWE could do it. I'm sorry, I'm just stumbling on things, but I don't know how WWE could finagle it. But just with Gunther saying that he wishes and he hopes that the potential for the match to happen actually comes to fruition, that's enough credit for me to say, okay, it's going to happen, but can we pinpoint when it's going to happen? Is WWE going to want to do that on a random episode of Friday Night SmackDown or Monday Night Raw? I don't think so. Are they going to want to do it at some, I guess, not random pay-per-view, but, not one of the big four pay-per-views like a Royal Rumble or WrestleMania or SummerSlam or Survivor Series? You know what I mean? If they did it at a Money in the Bank or Elimination Chamber or something like that, it would kind of take away from it. But if WWE saved it until WrestleMania 40, especially like I always bring up in my podcast whenever I talk about the future, especially WrestleMania 40, WWE is saving a lot of really big matches for that night because of the fact that, like I've said, it's a nice round number. You know what I mean? WWE always loves to make those big round number shows really mean something by having just a really stacked card with, matches that have been building for so long. And I could see WWE wanting to have Gunther and Brock Lesnar in a match at WrestleMania 40 and just give them that spotlight, just like they're going to be giving the spotlight to Bobby Lashley this year at WrestleMania in Los Angeles. Super interesting, man. Really freaking interesting. So let's go to... Give me 1 second. Come on. Sonya Deville was legitimately injured at a WWE live event. This is what it had to say. Last night, WWE held its Sunday live event at the Pensacola Bay Center in Pensacola, Florida. During the show, Charlotte Flair defended her SmackDown Women's Championship against Sonya Deville and Liv Morgan in a triple threat match. In the closing moment, Charlotte managed to put a roll-up pin on Liv and retain the title. However, Sonya Deville suffered a nasty cut during the match. The medical staff then checked and carried her backstage. Later, Sonya Deville posted a story on Instagram and stated that she got 7 stitches for the wound. WWE Senior Vice President of Live Events, Road Dogg, said that stitches in the same eyebrow that has just had stitches put in last Friday. This is the second time that Sonya Deville got hurt during a match. She was also hurt during the Women's Royal Rumble match. Really freaking crazy, man. This is something that obviously happens a lot in professional wrestling, and I think it's something that is well known that when you step into a professional wrestling ring, you take the chance of a lot of things happening to you that are out of your control. And I'm not really surprised to hear that. You know what I mean? It's in the news, so we're just gonna discuss it and at least read the article and whatnot. I'm not surprised that that's in the news. Obviously, with what the report said, with it being stitches in the same eyebrow that has already had stitches a week prior, it's probably got to be pretty brutal, So it'll be cool to at least see her come back, because I think that WWE was building her up just a tad bit, getting her a little bit of steam behind her, and so she'll probably be out for a couple weeks, and then she'll be back on the show, no problem. Let's get into the final bit of news. SmackDown faction drafted to WWE Raw. Last year, Max Dupree made his main roster debut and introduced his model agency called Maximum Male Models. Dupree then recruited Mansoor and Mace to the faction and renamed them Mace and Mansoor. Maxine Dupree later joined the MMM as Max Dupree's sister. However, Max Dupree departed departed from the MMM and revamp his career as LA Knight. The Maximum Male Models are portrayed as a silly faction on WWE television, and they have their own YouTube video series. Since the debut of Maximum Male Models, the trio frequently appeared on the Blue brand. Last week, Maxine, Mansoor, and Mansoor appeared in the backstage segment where Maxine expressed her interest to recruit Otis. Fightful Select has reported that Maximum Male Models have officially drafted to Monday Night Raw. Fightful Select that has learned that Maxine Dupree, Mace, and Mansoor are all now officially members of the WWE roster. The trio, known as Maximum Male Models, appeared on WWE Raw last week and looked like they were set to recruit Alpha's Academy's Otis. Yesterday, WWE posted a video of Mace to celebrate his birthday. A fan tweeted that, "Hope they let you drop that gimmick soon." In response to that fan, Mace stated that, for my birthday, let's stop complaining about my job for me. I'm quite content being silly with my best friend. It looks like Mace is interested in portraying the gimmick. Really, really interesting. I don't really understand a whole lot what they're doing with the Maximum Male Models. I think it's kind of a failed gimmick. They're kind of really freaking cringe. I'll try and bring up a photo for you guys so that you guys can see. Just like I just don't see them as like a real tag team, and I don't think that the WWE universe sees them as a real tag team, and it's just not good television. I don't know who they're catering to. They don't really cater to an age. They're not catering to a specific like niche part for like an audience. They're kind of just throwing out a gimmick that everybody finds really, really cringe and just letting it be because that's what they can come up with. But it's like WWE should be a little bit more smarter with that, with their characters, especially now that Triple H is involved. He should be able to do something different with them, you know. So I don't see the Maximum Male Models, even though they're coming from SmackDown to Raw, doing anything different or having any other impact on the show besides making you just want to turn off your television. Like, that's all I see when I hear or think about the Maximum Male Models. They're in the news because they got switched over to Monday Night Raw. I guess that is what it is, but it's still not going to go anywhere for these guys. Not going to go anywhere. So that's what I have for WWE news. And like I said, all of that was brought to you by the Spotlight News. I will actually put a link to all of these articles, everything that I just read off, so that you guys can go and actually read them yourselves. Maybe go into the Spotlight News's website, go and look through all of their other articles. And I just want to thank them for allowing us to sit here and discuss what they have to say about all of this WWE news. Let's get into the list, man. This is something that I actually introduced last week, I believe. I believe it was last week. We're on episode 23 over the last, 2 months. Been freaking crazy. I can't remember exactly which episode, but it's called Introducing the Top 10 List if you go back into my videos. But we are actually going to update it for what happened at the Royal Rumble, going through the week, and then actually ending up at Monday Night Raw last night. So, at number 1, again, because of the fact that he is the champion, we have Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns will always be number 1, regardless if he has the championship. Number 2, we got Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn is freaking so over. Anybody even speaks his name in the WWE ring, and the fans just go crazy. It's freaking awesome. Come on. Number 3, Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes returned at the Royal Rumble at number 30 and ended up winning the match, and that is why he is getting his WWE Universal World Heavyweight Championship match at WrestleMania. He's over, but he's not as over as Sami Zayn. He's just not. Because even when Cody Rhodes came out into the ring and everybody was cheering him, and then he brought up Sami Zayn. They started chanting Sami and at Cody Rhodes when he just won the Royal Rumble and he's getting a championship match at WrestleMania. You know what I mean? Like, he is so freaking over. But Cody Rhodes, he's still up there with him. Number 4, Gunther. Gunther is really, really being pushed right now as the big guy, and him being the Intercontinental Champion, and like the report said, him holding it for 240 days. He has to be up there on the list. He might not be in the storyline right now of the World Heavyweight Championship, but the Intercontinental Championship is WWE's second major championship that they're really, really pushing. Number 5, Austin Theory. Austin Theory is the WWE United States Champion. He has to be up there, especially with the Elimination Chamber being where it's going to determine who is going to face Austin Theory for the United States Championship at WrestleMania. Number 6, Damian Priest. Damian Priest has been pushed a lot lately. He has been in a lot of matches, and that's actually one thing that I find really cool. If you give me 1 second. That's one thing that I find really cool about, like, actually keeping track of like everything in WWE, because as of last night on Monday Night Raw, check this out. So last night in the Elimination Chamber qualifier match on Monday Night Raw, Angelo Dawkins, right, versus Damian Priest. Well, I have been actually doing like almost like a record book for WWE, just like I did with AEW during their first year, but with WWE. And it's actually really interesting to look at the book, because then I can kind of see why WWE makes certain superstars lose and makes certain superstars win. Because whenever I see a superstar that loses, it also is almost like a period throughout the weeks where they are losing. And that's where like the records will actually kind of show who WWE is pushing and who WWE isn't. And that's why I said that Damian Priest is at number 6, because he actually walked in last night with a 6-1 record, and then he ended up, or a 5-1 record. He ended up winning, and then now he's sitting at 6-1 for 2023. So he's been pushed a lot, and the only loss that he has was at the Royal Rumble. That's it. So Damian Priest is really, really being pushed. And the same thing with number 7, which is Finn Balor. Finn Balor is being pushed with him as the Judgment Day. And then Dominic Mysterio and whatnot. But he isn't even on this list because he isn't really up there like all of these other superstars are. But Finn Balor, I could see WWE really pushing come summer, fall of 2023. It's going to be very interesting. Number 8, Jimmy and Jey Uso. As everybody knows, with Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn fighting at the Elimination Chamber, everybody is looking at the Usos and wondering how they feel about the whole situation with Jey leaving the Usos. What are they going to do? How is Elimination Chamber going to play out? That is why they're up there at number 8, is because they bring that importance. And that also brings us to number 9, Solo Sikoa. Solo Sikoa is a part of the Bloodline. We have all of the members of the Bloodline on this list. Number 1 with Roman Reigns. Number 8 with Jimmy and Jey Uso. Number 9 with Solo Sikoa. He is the muscle behind the Bloodline. So he is crucial to their whole story. And that is why he is sitting at number 9, is because WWE is building him up slowly without him saying a single word. He hasn't said anything. It's really, really crazy. And then number 10 is Sheamus. Sheamus is on the hunt for the WWE Intercontinental Championship. He's even said himself that that's the only title in his entire career that has ever escaped him. really freaking interesting. It's going to be awesome. So that is what we have for the top 10 lists and the reasons why all of those superstars are put where they need to be put. I love the fact that we can kind of do this, kind of put everybody together, and then really, really keep track of who's being on top and who is fighting for what championship, and actually line it up in like a list form. It's freaking cool. So the last thing I wanted to do on this podcast is I wanted to talk to you guys about like kind of like a little story. So I have been a fan of wrestling for 17 years. I've gone to a lot of wrestling shows. I've gone to Raw, SmackDown, WWE Live. I've been to 2 WWE pay-per-views. I've been to, DOA Pro Wrestling. I've been to West Coast Wrestling Connection. Just shit like that. Just like random wrestling events. I think I'm up to like 18 wrestling events now. It's like just as a whole. And there was this one wrestling event that I went to in 2017. And it was called, it was by the West Coast Wrestling Connection, and it was called the HungerSlam. So it was a charity event, where you brought food, and then, you could get in and you go watch wrestling. Well, I will bring up the actual poster for the event, and it says 25 plus hours. Well, they actually went 27, and they went all night. I mean, they had like 80 plus matches. Freaking insane. I'm going to bring up another picture. There's this tag team. They were called 4 Minutes of Heat at the time. That's Eddie Pearl and Ricky Gibson. These two dudes are freaking so good at what they do. I mean, they are amazing, because like when Ricky Gibson is inside the ring, and he's in a tag team match with Eddie Pearl. If Eddie Pearl gets knocked outside of the ring and Ricky Gibson is fighting inside, he will actually call out to him, even though, he's trying to get up and he has to act like he's still injured and making his way into the ring. He would still be like calling out to Ricky Gibson if he saw that like an opponent had like a chair. He'd be like, "Ricky, watch out!" And sit there and like freak out. It was just so good to see to see both of them wrestle. Like, they were just amazing. But during this whole event, like I said, them having 80 plus matches, obviously it went like through the night, because it started at 2 p.m. one day, ended at 5 p.m. the next day, which was really freaking crazy. And I remember it was probably around 1 a.m. is when people really, really started to filter out, and by 3:30, there was like probably 5 of us left in the building, to be sitting there watching pro wrestling. And the owner of the company, Morty, he actually came out and he shook all of our hands and introduced himself and, said thank you guys for staying, because if we didn't have anybody to wrestle in front of, we wouldn't be able to continue with this event. And we want to reach our end goal, because their whole goal was not only to, have a food drive, maybe bring some exposure to their company, but they I don't know, damn it. See, this is like what is cool about podcasts, is that sometimes shit happens and it's actually freaking live. But it was just very, very beneficial for them. I'm trying to freaking, I just had like the worst freaking brain fart. It's all good. It's all good. When he was sitting there talking with us, he told us that he was thankful that all of us were there because they wanted to reach their end goal and reach 27 hours straight and have it be the longest ever professional wrestling event in history. Like, in the entire sport, it's the longest ever consecutive match after match after match after match after match event in history. It was freaking insane. That's why I said, like, 80 plus matches in close to 27 hours. And especially being one of 5 people at 5, 4, 3 o'clock in the morning, it was freaking cool, because it's like, you know, I got to be a part of history in a sense, because when people think, oh, I wonder what the longest ever professional wrestling event has ever been, HungerSlam, 27 hours straight. It was freaking awesome, you know. And then when Morty was sitting there talking with us after he had, you know, told us thank you for staying and whatnot, he had asked each of us, like, what match do you guys want to see? You know, because, like, all of the wrestlers were still awake, you know. So he asked each of us what match we wanted to see. And I actually got to see this tag team, Ricky Gibson and Eddie Pearl, do a non-sanctioned match. Meaning that it wasn't on the record, because they were such a good tag team that they never wanted to fight each other and have it be put into the paper books. You know what I mean? Like, they never wanted it to be written down or anything. That's why they had it where it was like a non-sanctioned, like, it wasn't a part of the event, so that then it didn't have to be put into the record books and whatnot, that they actually fought. So it was actually really cool to see both of them actually compete in the ring against each other and see them fight. And then, you know, they had like the Royal Rumble, they had a blind match, they just had just a whole bunch of really, really good wrestling. And it's kind of sad that, like, COVID has unfortunately taken out the West Coast Wrestling Connection. So that's just why, like, I just wanted to share that that's a really fond memory. And it is really interesting that, like, that is, like, the longest ever professional wrestling event in history. And I was one of 5 people in the arena at 5 o'clock in the morning still watching, after being there for well over, you know, 13, 14 hours. You know, it was a good experience. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. If this is kind of content you guys like podcasts, and you guys like pro wrestling, then this is the podcast for you. Make sure to hit that like, subscribe, turn on that notification bell so that you guys get notified whenever I upload anything. Make sure to go and follow me on social media at CodyT503. That's Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I will be back later on, whenever, for some more wrestling content. I will catch you guys later, and I hope you guys have a good day.